My brother proposed to my fiancée, his ex, in front of my family, and I'm pissed. I'm 28 years old and engaged to the love of my life, Sarah. 2 months ago, I proposed to her at a fancy dinner in front of both our families. Everyone was happy. Everyone celebrated. Then last week, my younger brother Ryan invited us to family dinner at his apartment. 30 minutes into normal conversation, he stood up, made a speech, got on one knee, and proposed to my fiancée. Right in front of me. I punched him. Hard. But that was just the beginning. What happened next exposed years of toxic family dysfunction and forced me to choose between the family I was born into and the woman I love. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from. I want to know who's hearing this story. Let me back up and explain how we got here. I met Sarah at a bar about a year ago, right after I moved back to my hometown. I'd been living in another state for years, and coming home felt like starting over. That night at the bar, I saw her across the room and something just clicked. She had this energy about her, confident, warm, the kind of person who lights up a space just by being in it. I walked over and introduced myself. We talked for hours. About everything and nothing. Our jobs, our favorite movies, the terrible beer they were serving. When the bar closed, I asked for her number. She smiled and said yes. That smile is something I'll never forget. We went on a few more dates after that. Coffee, dinner, a walk through the park where we talked until the sun went down. By the third date, I knew I wanted this to be serious. She was everything I'd been looking for, beautiful, intelligent, funny in a way that made my sides hurt from laughing. Within a few weeks, we made it official. She was my girlfriend. I was happier than I'd been in years. But there was one thing I hadn't done yet. I hadn't introduced her to my family. And that wasn't an accident. See, my family and I aren't close. We used to be, when I was a kid, but things changed as I got older. There's history there, complicated, painful history that I wasn't ready to bring Sarah into. Not until I was sure we were serious. By December, I knew we were serious. So when Christmas rolled around, I told my parents I wanted to bring someone to dinner. They were excited. They'd known I was dating someone, but I'd kept the details vague. That's just how I am with my personal life. I don't share until I'm sure. My mom asked to see pictures. I pulled out my phone and showed her. She smiled, made some comment about Sarah being beautiful, and started passing my phone around the dinner table. My sisters looked, made approving noises. Then the phone got to Ryan. My younger brother. The golden child. Mom's precious baby boy who could do no wrong. Ryan looked at the screen and his face went white. Then red. Then he exploded. "You're dating her," he screamed, slamming his hand on the table. "Are you fucking kidding me?" Everyone froze. My mom's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. My dad's fork clattered onto his plate. My sisters looked at each other with confused expressions. "What are you talking about?" I asked, genuinely confused. "That's Sarah. That's my ex-girlfriend." Ryan was standing now, pointing at my phone. "You're dating my fucking ex." My stomach dropped. I looked at the phone screen again, at Sarah's smiling face. "What? We dated. Last year. You can't date her. That's a violation. You're violating me." I'd been living in another state for the past few years. I had no idea Ryan had even had a girlfriend. He'd never mentioned her. Never posted about her. Nothing. "I didn't know," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "When did you date her?" "Last August. For a month. And you need to break up with her right now." My mom tried to calm him down, but he wasn't having it. He kept yelling, demanding I end things with Sarah immediately. I refused. This was insane. They dated for 1 month, over a year ago. That shouldn't matter. When I got home that night, I called Sarah and asked her about it. She confirmed they dated briefly. She explained that Ryan had pursued her hard, they'd gone out for about a month, and then he dumped her out of nowhere. Said he was bored. Said he wasn't ready for a relationship. She was hurt at the time but got over it quickly. It had only been a month, after all. "Did you know he was my brother?" I asked. "No," she said. "I didn't even know your last name until our third date. And I never met his family. He kept that relationship pretty casual." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But that didn't stop the sick feeling in my stomach. My brother had dated my girlfriend. And now he was acting like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. For the next few weeks, Ryan wouldn't let it go. Every time I saw him at a family event, he'd bring it up. He'd make passive-aggressive comments. He'd glare at Sarah if she was there. My sisters told him to get over it. Eventually, he stopped mentioning it out loud. I thought he'd moved on. I thought the drama was over. I was so fucking wrong. Months passed. Sarah and I grew closer. I fell more in love with her every day. She was patient with my complicated family, understanding about my reluctance to involve her too much. She never pushed. She just loved me. On her birthday this year, I knew what I wanted to do. I'd been planning it for weeks. I reserved a table at the nicest restaurant in town. I invited both our families and Sarah's closest friends. I wanted to make it special. Memorable. That night, the restaurant was perfect. Candles flickered on white tablecloths. Sarah looked stunning in a blue dress that matched her eyes. Everyone was laughing, celebrating, happy. Halfway through dinner, I stood up. The table went quiet. Sarah looked at me with curious eyes. I got down on one knee, pulled out the ring I'd spent 2 months picking out, and asked her to marry me. She started crying immediately. Happy tears. She said yes before I could even finish my speech. Everyone erupted in cheers. My sisters hugged us. Sarah's mom was crying. Her friends were taking pictures. Then Ryan stood up. "Are you serious?" he shouted. "You're going to marry her?" The table went silent again. But this time it was different. This time, everyone looked uncomfortable. "Ryan, sit down," my older sister said. "No. This is insane. He's marrying my ex-girlfriend." "You dated for a month," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Over a year ago. Get over it." "I don't have to get over anything. You're the one who—" "Ryan, shut up," my other sister cut in. "This is not about you. Sit down or leave." He looked around the table. Everyone was glaring at him now. Even my mom looked annoyed. He grabbed his jacket and stormed out of the restaurant. The rest of the evening continued, but the mood had shifted. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table. I squeezed back. We were going to be okay. Ryan's tantrum didn't change anything. Except it did change something. Because Ryan wasn't done. Not even close. For 2 months after my proposal, Ryan was quiet. Too quiet. He didn't call. Didn't show up to family events. I figured he'd gone low contact with me, which honestly, I was fine with. The less drama, the better. Then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Ryan. "Hey," he said, his voice casual. Friendly, even. I was thinking. I want to have a family dinner. At my apartment this weekend. You, Sarah, Mom, Dad, and the sisters. Just something small. To apologize for being such a dick at your engagement. I was suspicious. Ryan doesn't apologize. He doesn't admit he's wrong. But my parents and sisters were going, and I figured there was safety in numbers. What could he possibly do with everyone there? "Sure," I said. "We'll come." That Saturday, Sarah and I drove to Ryan's apartment. My parents' car was already in the parking lot. So were my sisters' cars. We walked up to his door and knocked. Ryan answered with a big smile. "Too big. Come in. Everyone's in the living room." The apartment was nice. Nothing fancy, but clean. Organized. He'd made dinner, pasta, salad, bread. It was actually pretty good. We sat around his small dining table and ate, making normal conversation. My dad talked about work. My mom talked about her book club. My sisters talked about their jobs. Everything felt normal. After dinner, we moved to the living room. Ryan turned on some music. We sat on his couches and chairs, drinks in hand, just talking. About the wedding. About potential venues. About my sister Lisa's new boyfriend. Normal family stuff. I started to relax. Maybe Ryan really had moved on. Maybe this dinner was his way of making peace. Maybe we could all just be adults about this. 30 minutes into the conversation, Ryan stood up. "Hey everyone," he said, his voice suddenly serious. "I have an announcement to make." My mom smiled. My dad looked curious. My sisters stopped mid-conversation to listen. Ryan cleared his throat. "I'm really happy to have my family here tonight. This is a big moment for me, and I wanted you all to be here to witness it." I felt Sarah tense beside me. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my gut. Ryan turned to face Sarah. My stomach dropped. "Sarah," he said, getting down on one knee. "Will you marry me?" Time stopped. The room went completely silent. I stared at my brother, on one knee, holding out a cheap plastic ring toward my fiancée. Sarah's face went white. "What?" she whispered. "Will you marry me?" Ryan repeated, smiling like this was normal. Like this made any kind of sense. "Are you insane?" Sarah's voice was shaking. "Put that away. Stand up. Right now." But Ryan didn't move. He just kept smiling, holding out that ring. My dad started to get up, reaching for Ryan. But I got there first. I punched him. Hard. Right in the jaw. He fell backward, hitting the floor with a heavy thud. The ring flew out of his hand and skittered across the hardwood. "What the fuck is wrong with you?" I was screaming now. My mom was screaming too, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. My sisters were pulling me back. My dad was trying to help Ryan up. Everything was chaos. Voices overlapping. Sarah crying. My mother yelling at me for hitting Ryan. My sisters yelling at Ryan for what he'd just done. Finally, my parents just grabbed my arms and physically rushed me toward the door. "We'll talk to him," my dad said. "Just go. We'll figure this out." Sarah and I stumbled out to my car. My hand was throbbing. My heart was racing. We sat there in silence for a moment, both of us trying to process what had just happened. "Did that really just happen?" Sarah asked. "I think so," I said. But honestly, I wasn't sure. It felt like a nightmare. Like something that couldn't possibly be real. We drove home in silence. When we got inside, Sarah went straight to the bedroom. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall. My phone was buzzing nonstop with messages from my sisters. I ignored them all. What the hell was Ryan thinking? Why would he do that? Was he trying to prove some kind of point? Was this revenge for me dating his ex? I needed answers. But first, I needed a plan. Because I knew my family. I knew how they operated. And I knew my mother would try to spin this somehow, make it seem like I was overreacting, like Ryan had just made a silly mistake. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. I needed proof of whatever Ryan's real motives were. I needed evidence that couldn't be explained away or minimized. The next morning, I went to an electronics store and bought a small voice-activated recorder. The kind investigators use. I tested it a few times to make sure it worked clearly. Then I called Ryan. "We need to talk," I said. "Face to face. About what happened." There was a pause. "Okay," he said finally. "When?" "Today. Come to my place. Sarah will be here too." "Fine. I'll be there at noon." I hung up and looked at Sarah. "Are you okay with this?" She nodded. "I want to hear what he has to say. I want to understand why he did that." When Ryan showed up, I had the recorder in my pocket, already running. I let him in, and we all sat down in the living room. The tension was thick enough to cut. For a few minutes, nobody spoke. Ryan looked uncomfortable but not apologetic. I took a deep breath. "Look," I said. "I'm sorry I hit you. That was wrong." Ryan shrugged. "Whatever. I appreciate the apology. But I need you to explain something to me. I need to understand why you did what you did." Ryan leaned back in his chair. "What do you want to know?" "Sarah told me that you two dated for about a month last year and you broke up with her because you lost interest. Is that true?" "Yeah, that's true." Sarah spoke up. "Are you doing this because you still have feelings for me? Or because you regret how things ended?" Ryan actually laughed. "No offense, Sarah, but no. You're more attractive than you used to be, I'll give you that. But I don't have feelings for you. I don't regret breaking up." "Then why?" I asked. "Why would you propose to her?" Ryan sighed like we were asking him to explain something obvious. "Look, I just don't like seeing a girl I dated with my older brother. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. And as a man, you shouldn't have violated me by pursuing my ex in the first place." "I had no idea you dated," I said, my voice rising. "I didn't consciously do anything. It just happened. Doesn't matter. You should have ended it when you found out." "That's insane." "That's how I feel." Ryan crossed his arms. "If the roles were reversed, I would have broken up with her immediately." I doubted that very much. But I pushed on. "You didn't answer my question. Why did you propose to her if you don't have feelings?" Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I was talking to my buddy Tyler about the situation. He's the one who was around when Sarah and I were dating. He pointed out something I hadn't thought of." "What?" Sarah asked. "Tyler said maybe Sarah knew we were related from the start. Maybe she tracked you down on purpose, to get back at me for breaking up with her. Because apparently she was pretty hung up on me after we ended." Sarah's jaw dropped. "Excuse me? I heard you were asking about me. And you kept hanging out at the same places we used to go. So it seemed like you weren't over it." "I asked about you once," Sarah said, her voice shaking with anger. "One time. And I've been going to those places with my friends since before I even met you. I didn't stop going because we broke up." "Still seemed suspicious," Ryan said with a shrug. "And then you just happened to meet my brother? Come on." "So you decided to test it," I said slowly, understanding dawning. "You proposed to her to see if she'd leave me for you." "Exactly. If she said yes, it would prove she was just using you to get back at me." Sarah stood up. "That is the most insulting thing anyone has ever said to me. You think I'd pursue your brother, someone I genuinely love, just to get revenge on you for a month-long relationship I barely remember?" Ryan gave another shrug. "Had to make sure." "Get out," I said. "What?" "Get out of my house. Right now." Ryan stood up. "Fine. But for the record, I wasn't going to come to your wedding anyway. I can't support your relationship knowing I used to date her. That's perfect, I said, walking to the door and opening it. Because you weren't invited anyway. Ryan left without another word. As soon as the door closed, I pulled out the recorder and stopped it. The entire conversation was captured. Every admission. Every insulting assumption. Everything. Sarah looked at me. You recorded that? Every word, I said. Because I knew my family would try to spin this. Now we have proof of exactly what Ryan was thinking. That was so calculated. So manipulative. I know. And now everyone's going to hear it. But first, I had to get through the next few weeks. Because I knew my mother wasn't going to let this go. She never let anything go when it came to Ryan. A few weeks later, my sister Lisa had a birthday party at my parents' house. Ryan wasn't there, he said he had to work. The party was nice. Cake, presents, family catching up. Lisa's boyfriend proposed to her at the end of the night and everyone erupted in celebration. We all sat around afterward, talking about wedding plans. Lisa was excited, describing her dream ceremony. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. I know Ryan's banned from your wedding, she said to me with a laugh. But you won't care if he comes to mine, right? I laughed too, trying to keep it light. It's your guest list. I can't get mad about who you invite. But my mother wasn't laughing. She was staring at me with this weird expression. Wait, she said. Ryan is still not invited to your wedding? I thought you were joking about that. No, Mom. He's not invited. That's ridiculous. Her voice was getting that edge to it. That tone that meant she was about to make this a whole thing. You're being completely unreasonable. He made a mistake. You need to get over it. He proposed to my fiancée, I said flatly. With me sitting right there. It was just a joke. You're holding a grudge just to be petty. Lisa jumped in. Mom, seriously? You're making my engagement about Ryan and his drama? My mother's face flushed. I just think it's wrong to. Mom, I said firmly. This isn't the time. If you or Ryan want to talk about my wedding, you can call me later. But today is Lisa's day. My mother pressed her lips together but didn't say anything else. Lisa shot me a grateful look. We moved on to other topics. But I knew this wasn't over. 3 days later, my mother showed up at my house unannounced. She walked in without being invited and sat down on my couch like she owned the place. We need to discuss your wedding, she said. Okay, I said carefully. What about it? I want to know why you're so adamant about Ryan not coming. Mom, we've been over this. He proposed to Sarah. That's not something you just get over. You're being insecure about their past relationship. That's what this is really about. I felt my jaw clench. It has nothing to do with insecurity. It has to do with respect. And Ryan showed none. He made a mistake. One mistake. And you're going to punish him for it forever? Ryan and I both agreed he shouldn't come to the wedding. It was mutual. Well, I don't accept that, my mother said, crossing her arms. If you're not going to re-invite Ryan, then I'm not coming either. The room went quiet. Sarah, who'd been in the kitchen, appeared in the doorway. You're not coming to your own son's wedding? She asked. Not if he's going to ostracize Ryan like this, my mother said. Family is family. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. At the determination in her eyes. At the way she was willing to miss her son's wedding just to make a point about her other son. And something inside me just broke. Then don't come, I said. What? If that's your choice, then don't come. Throw your invitation in the trash. I'm not going to beg you to be there. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. This isn't the first time you've missed something important in my life because of Ryan. So if you want to miss this too, that's your choice. My mother stood up, her face red. You're being an asshole. You're throwing my past mistakes in my face. I'm stating facts. You have a choice to make. But I'm not changing my mind about Ryan. She stormed out without another word. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Sarah came over and put her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? Yeah, I said. But I wasn't sure if that was true. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing. Text messages from aunts and uncles. Voicemails from cousins. All saying the same thing, I was wrong. I should invite Ryan. Family is more important than grudges. Sarah's phone was blowing up too. My mother had started messaging her directly, asking her to convince me to change my mind. To talk some sense into me. Comment below and tell me what you would do in this situation. Would you forgive your brother, or stand your ground? A few days later, I called Ryan directly. Do you actually have a problem with not being invited to the wedding? No, he said immediately. I uninvited myself. I told you I don't want to go. Then why is everyone acting like I'm committing some crime? I don't know, man. Leave me out of it. This is between you and Mom. For 2 weeks, the messages kept coming. The pressure was constant. But I held firm. Ryan didn't want to come anyway. This was all my mother's drama. Then, after 2 weeks of non-stop harassment, everything suddenly went quiet. No texts. No calls. Nothing. I should have known that was a bad sign. 3 days later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find my mother standing there again. But this time, her expression was different. Softer. Almost apologetic. "Can I come in?" she asked. "I want to clear the air. Talk about everything." I hesitated. Sarah came up behind me. "Let her in," she whispered. "Let's hear what she has to say." So we invited her in. Sarah made her a plate of dinner we'd been about to eat. My mother sat at our table, picking at the food. "Are you still planning on not coming to the wedding?" I asked. She sighed. "I want to come. But I can't get over you not inviting Ryan. It was such a simple mistake. Mom, he proposed to my fiancée with me sitting 3 feet away. That's not simple." "It was a joke," she insisted. "It wasn't a joke," Sarah said firmly. My mother turned to Sarah. "If you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you. Alone." I felt alarm bells go off in my head. "What?" "I just think if Sarah and I could talk woman to woman, she could help me understand where you're coming from. And maybe I could help her see my perspective." "I'm not leaving," I said. My mother's face tightened. "You thought I'd be at work, didn't you?" Sarah said suddenly. "That's why you came today specifically. You wanted to catch me alone." My mother didn't deny it. "I wouldn't have had that conversation without him here anyway," Sarah continued. "This is about his brother. He should be part of any discussion." "See, that's exactly the problem," my mother snapped. "You're spineless. You can't even have a conversation without him here to think for you." The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Sarah's face went white, then red. "Excuse me?" Sarah said, her voice dangerously quiet. "You heard me. You're letting him control you. You're letting him dictate." "Get out," Sarah said, standing up. "Don't tell me. Get out." Sarah was yelling now. She walked toward the front door. "Get out of our house right now." My mother stood up, following Sarah toward the door. But she didn't stop talking. She just kept going, her voice getting louder and shriller. "You're tearing this family apart. You're the reason my sons can't get along. You're—" Sarah reached for the door handle to open it. And that's when my mother grabbed her. She grabbed Sarah's hair. Yanked hard. Sarah went down, hitting the floor with a cry of pain. My mother was on top of her, hitting her, scratching at her face. I rushed over and grabbed my mother, dragging her off Sarah. She was still screaming, still trying to claw at Sarah as I pulled her away. I threw her outside and slammed the door. She pounded on it for several minutes, screaming incoherently. Then I heard her car start and drive away. I turned to Sarah. She was sitting on the floor, crying. There were scratches on her face. Red marks that were already starting to swell. Her hair was a mess from where my mother had pulled it. "Are you okay?" I asked, kneeling beside her. She nodded but didn't speak. She was shaking. I helped her up and got ice for her face. My phone was ringing, my mother calling. I ignored it. She called again. And again. I blocked her number. Then I called my father. Then my sisters. I told them what happened. My father immediately started making excuses. "She's been under so much stress," he said. "This whole situation with the wedding. She assaulted Sarah," I said. "There's no excuse for that." My sisters were different. "We knew she'd snap eventually," one of them said. "She's always been like this when she doesn't get her way." "Are you going to press charges?" my father asked. I looked at Sarah. "Do you want to?" I asked her. She shook her head. "I just want her to leave us alone." But I knew better. "We should at least file a police report," I said. "For documentation. In case she does something else." Sarah was reluctant but finally agreed. The next day, we went to the police station. We showed them photos of Sarah's injuries, the scratches on her face, the bruises on her arms from where my mother had grabbed her. We showed them the text messages my mother had sent before and after the attack. The officer took our statement. "Even if you don't want to prosecute now," he said, "this will be on record. And if she does something again, it'll help your case." We filed the report and left. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought my mother would be scared enough to back off. I was wrong. For days later, I was leaving work. It was late, almost 7. The parking lot was mostly empty. I was walking to my car when I saw her. My mother. Standing by my car. Waiting for me. My heart started racing. Security was back in the building. I was alone. She was walking toward me, and the look on her face made my blood run cold. "You tried to have me arrested," she screamed. You're trying to ruin my life. Stay away from me, I said, pulling out my phone. It was a misunderstanding. A simple misunderstanding, and you're trying to get me arrested. You attacked Sarah. That's not a misunderstanding. I want you to call the police right now and tell them to forget about that report. It doesn't work that way. I can't just. She rushed at me, fists flying. She started hitting me, my chest, my arms. They weren't hard hits, but they were aggressive. I tried to block without hitting back, backing up toward the building. Mom, stop. Stop. Security finally noticed. 2 guards came running out and grabbed my mother, pulling her away from me. She was screaming the entire time they dragged her to the parking lot entrance. They told her she was banned from the property, and if she came back, they'd call the police. I went inside to my boss's office, my hands shaking. I explained what was happening. My boss was understanding. She told me to take the rest of the week off if I needed it. When I got home and told Sarah what happened, she started crying. This has to stop, she said. We can't live like this. We stayed up late that night, talking. Really talking. About my family. About what we wanted our life to look like. About whether we could keep dealing with this level of toxicity. I want to move away, Sarah said finally. Put some real distance between us and them. Where would we go? My brother lives about 3 hours from here. We could move closer to him. Start fresh. I didn't even hesitate. Let's do it. Really? Really? But first, I need to officially cut them off. I need to tell them we're done. The next day, I called my father. My hands were shaking as I dialed. He answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? Dad, I need to talk to you and Mom. Is she there? There was a pause. Yeah, she's here. Is everything okay? Put me on speaker. I heard rustling, then my mother's voice. What do you want? I took a deep breath. Sarah and I are cutting you out of our lives. Silence. Then my father, what? Why would you do that after we worked so hard to repair our relationship? Because this situation with Ryan has shown me that nothing was actually repaired. As far as you're concerned, the world revolves around Mom and Ryan. That's never going to change. That's not. Yes, it is. Mom assaulted Sarah. Then she came to my workplace and assaulted me. And you're making excuses for her. My mother started crying. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself. After everything I've done for you. You mean after everything you did for Ryan while ignoring me and my sisters? After using me as a scapegoat for Ryan's behavior my entire life? You should move on like your sisters have. They forgave you. I can't. Especially not after what you did to Sarah. My mother was crying harder now. How can you treat me like such a villain? You can only blame yourself, Mom. I've done nothing wrong. She broke down completely then. I regret having you, she sobbed. You've only ever tried to ruin my life. I heard Sarah gasp behind me. She grabbed the phone from my hand. You're disgusting, Sarah said, her voice shaking with rage. What kind of mother says that to her own child? You're a terrible person. A terrible mother. And we're done with you. There was silence on the other end. I couldn't tell if my mother had hung up or just stopped talking. My father's voice came through. I'm not okay with being shut out of your life. I understand that, I said, taking the phone back from Sarah. But this is happening. You need to understand your mother's perspective. She's struggling. Her kids are at odds, Anne. Her kids are at odds because she spent my entire childhood favoring Ryan over everyone else. We're family. We should move forward together. The only person Mom cares about is Ryan. And herself. Nothing you say is going to change my mind. You can keep my number if you want, but I'm blocking both of you everywhere. Don't try to reach out. I hung up. Then I immediately blocked both my parents' numbers. Blocked them on social media. Blocked them everywhere I could think of. Then I opened my laptop. I had one more thing to do. I created an email address to my entire extended family. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, grandparent. About 50 people total. I attached the audio recording of Ryan's confession. I attached the security camera footage of my mother attacking Sarah. I wrote a detailed explanation of everything that had happened. I'm sharing this because my mother has been telling everyone her version of events, I wrote. This is what actually happened. Ryan proposed to my fiancé as a test. My mother assaulted Sarah when we wouldn't re-invite him to the wedding. Then she assaulted me at my workplace. These are facts, documented on audio and video. Sarah and I are going no contact with my parents. The wedding will proceed, but only supportive family members are invited. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing. Comments, messages, calls. Some family members were horrified. Others were angry at me for exposing family business. A few relatives sent messages saying they'd always suspected my mother favored Ryan but never realized how bad it was. My mother's friends saw the posts. Her church community saw them. Within hours, the fallout had spread far beyond just our family. Sarah and I turned off our phones and sat together in the quiet. Whatever happened next, we'd face it together. 6 months later, Sarah and I got married. The guest list was about 40 people instead of the 100 we'd originally planned. My sisters were there, looking beautiful in their bridesmaid dresses. My father's brother and his family came. Several supportive cousins came. Sarah's entire family was there. My mother's side of the family boycotted. All of them. My father chose not to attend, saying it would be disloyal to my mother. Ryan sent a brief text wishing us well but didn't come. The ceremony was perfect. Intimate. Meaningful. Every person there genuinely wanted to be there. There was no drama. No tension. Just love and support and celebration. During our first dance, I looked around at the smaller crowd and felt nothing but relief. This was better. This was right. 2 weeks after the wedding, Sarah and I moved. 3 hours away, to a city near her brother. I transferred with my job. Sarah found remote work. We didn't give my parents our new address. The restraining order I'd filed was granted. 5 years of legal protection. My mother was ordered to stay 500 feet away from us at all times. A month after we moved, I got a call from security at my old workplace. My mother had shown up there, looking for me. She'd violated the restraining order. The police arrested her on the spot. 6 months later, she violated it again, creating a fake Facebook account to message Sarah. We reported it. The judge extended the restraining order by 2 more years and warned that another violation would mean jail time. A year after cutting them off, my father sent letters asking if we could move past everything. I responded once, saying he needed to acknowledge what my mother did was wrong and stop making excuses for her. He never responded. My relationship with Ryan remained distant. We exchanged brief texts on holidays. He never apologized but never defended our mother either. He stayed neutral in everything. 2 years after the wedding, Sarah and I had our first child. My sisters visited often, becoming the aunts our daughter deserved. They brought love and laughter and support. Life was peaceful. Happy. Everything we'd wanted. People sometimes ask if I regret cutting off my parents. I don't. Not for a second. My mother attacked the woman I love. She said she regretted having me. Those aren't things you come back from. The restraining order still has 3 years left on it. And honestly, I hope she never violates it again. Not because I want a relationship with her, but because I want her to leave us alone. Forever. So that's my story. My brother proposed to my fiancée as a test. My mother assaulted us both when we wouldn't play her games. I exposed everything, cut them off, moved away, and married the love of my life. Some people call me harsh. But those people didn't watch their mother attack their fiancé. They didn't hear their mother say she regrets having them. I chose Sarah. I chose peace. I chose myself. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. If you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment, did I go too far, or was it justified? Thanks for watching.